One of the big topics that is definitely on everybody's mind is how do I become the best version of myself for 2025? I'm kind of floored that we are so close to the end of 2024. But I also know that I really enjoy to look ahead to the new year. What are things in areas that I want to grow? What are things that I really enjoyed about this year? And what were some flops about this year? I think it's always okay to review what went well and what didn't go well. But we're going to talk in this video about how to become the literal best version of yourself for 2025, how you can use your habits, your routines, your focus, your mindset to really expand into being the person that you want to be. And if you're anything like me, I'm in my 40s. And so sometimes some of this content that I find about becoming the best version of yourself is really geared towards more of a younger audience, which I appreciate. I still love the content, I still watch quite a bit of it. But I also like to have something that fits a little bit more in my life. So I have older children, I have a marriage, I have maybe things that are just a little bit different than somebody who maybe is in their early 20s. And so this piece of content is going to be really geared towards if you are in a phase of life that you may say, hey, I want to step into this winter arc. I want to become the best version of myself, but I don't quite see how this fits into my life. I don't know how to get this to work for me. And we're going to break it down today in very simplistic, very easy to follow steps. So, I want to welcome you to this video. My name is Cecilia Hendricks. If you are new here, I recently, about a year ago, launched a podcast called Unleashing Happiness and then started sharing content online. I had found myself in a position of kind of just on a little bit of a struggle bus where it's not that I was unhappy, I wasn't depressed, I wasn't sad, but I also felt like there was things that were missing. There was areas of life that I would really like to expand and just become a better version of myself. I was not good at regulating my emotions. I was not good at remaining focused on my goals. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really was terrible about saying I was going to do something and then just not following through with it. I wouldn't complete it, I wouldn't continue. And that was something I really, really struggled with. And so, I found myself in kind of this law of assumption, law of attraction community, got concerned over some of the toxic positivity that was being taught there, and toxic positivity that I myself fell into. And so wanted to find a better way, or a better way, at least for me, to expand into living a life that I really love. And I ended up finding it through learning emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, learning how to actually process what I was feeling and choose the way that I wanted to continue to feel and choose my reactions in circumstances, which are still not always great, right? I'm human, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. But I learned how to start to choose my reactions in life. And then with those choosing of my reactions, I was actually able to expand into continuing to pay attention onto the goals that I had, continuing to focus on becoming this best version of myself. And what ended up happening was that the more that I focused on becoming and saying, I'm going to be this type of person, I'm shifting my identity, I'm working on my own personal growth versus I'm trying to do this like meditation or visualization technique now so that I can have something later. I truly like fell in love with the process. The quicker things actually started to happen for me because I was truly changing my state. I was increasing the gratitude I felt every day and in a natural way. I didn't have to force those feelings. And eventually I was like, man, I really want to start teaching other people about this. I want to start sharing this information. So I launched my podcast. I started launching this channel. I keep expanding, trying to grow. I'm definitely learning. I'm getting more comfortable presenting myself. I have a fear of being seen. I have a fear of people I know seeing me and understanding the journey that I've been on. Don't quite know why always, but that's something I have. So I'm expanding. And as I come into 2025, I have my own goals and my own aspirations that I would like to achieve. And this is my process for looking at those and saying, okay, how do I become the best version of myself? How do I start treating myself even better than I do now? How do I expand into this life that I keep dreaming of? How do I truly enjoy life? And as a mother, there was things that I loved about life. Don't get me wrong. My kids are my everything. I absolutely love them. You'll hear me talk about them quite a lot. But there was other areas that I was like, man, I don't feel desirable anymore. I don't feel attractive anymore. I don't feel like I take care of myself. And I just feel like there's something more that I want to have. Life can't just be about this. Life can't just be getting up, getting dressed, going to work, coming home, having your back hurt because you turned 40. Like, I just didn't want to buy into that. Right. And so this is really that journey. And I want to share it with you. So, part of any kind of change that you have in yourself is starting to shift your identity. And sometimes that sounds so overwhelming and so scary, but it's really not. So, the process of actually changing your identity starts with deciding what you really want out of life. What are the things that you want to achieve? And while this video is going to be much more focused on kind of creating the habits that lead you into the new year and beyond, so that you can truly expand and be this person that you want to be and step into this life that you want to have, that really starts with knowing what it is you actually want. Do you have an outcome in mind? And it can be very specific. You want to get a certain job, you want to get a certain relationship, you want to get, a raise, whatever it is. It can be very specific. Or it can be an overall feeling. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel like when I walk into a room that I shine. I want to feel loved. I want to feel desired. I want to feel attractive. You can make the choice of what that desired outcome is. And you don't have to have somebody tell you it's right or wrong. You get to pick on kind of how you would like that to be, what you want your life to look like. But that's definitely your first step. And we're going to go through this process kind of step by step and talk about a few different things. The second one is to look at how you currently align to this person that you want to be. So you've just said, this is what I want. Well, how do I align to that now? Am I behaving in a way that that person would? And one of the greatest exercises that you can do, and it's actually a lot of fun, is to start writing out what that person would look like. How does that person dress? How do they walk into a room? What does their morning routine look like? What does their evening routine look like? I actually have a guide that has all of these questions plus more. It's about 20 pages, a guide to walk you through this process of figuring out what it is you want and how to align to it. There'll be a link down below. It's your rebranding guide, or guide to your rebranding, sorry. But I'll put that link down below. And it has all these questions in it so that you can start to map out what you want to see in your life. Who do you want to become? What type of identity do you want to hold? And what does that look like for you? Because the more that you understand, like, oh, the person that I want to be would dress XYZ way. Like, I have a great example, right? I want to present myself in like a way that feels like you're sitting talking to a friend in a cafe, right? But with that, I still want to feel like I look nice when I show up on camera. Oftentimes, I am in a t-shirt and hoodie, to be perfectly honest. And recently, and doing my videos, I'm trying to kind of step that up a little bit more. So I went upstairs before recording this, and I changed into a sweater. I curled my hair a little bit, and I put on some earrings because I was like, this is the identity that I want to present online. Is one of somebody who's very real. I don't know how to do my makeup like stellar great. I, haven't probably been to the hair salon in months because I just have been too busy. So this is like real life, but I still want to present myself confident. I want to feel good about the way that I look. I want to feel good about the clothing that I'm wearing. And this is all mapped out kind of in my personal rebrand. When I look at the person I want to be, that's what I want to project. This is what I want people to see and to think of me, right? It's like, oh, put together, she looks nice, she's got a sweater on, whatever kind of deal. And you can do this with yourself. And so it's like, for an example, let's say that you wanted to get a promotion at work and you wanted this VP role. And you would present yourself differently. You would probably show up differently, walk differently, hold yourself differently, present yourself differently in meetings, even dress differently than if you were completely burnt out and didn't want to be at that job anymore. That's kind of an example of this. If you were in a loving and healthy relationship, you would probably present yourself differently than if you felt like you will never have a loving relationship. You would walk differently, carry yourself differently. You may even do small things like shower more often, shave your legs, wash your hair, put on cologne, put on perfume, those kind of things, right? Like, there's little things you can do to start to say, this is how that ideal version of myself would show up. This is what I would look like. This is how I would present myself. And again, you can find all of this in that guide if you would like a guide to kind of walk you through these questions. It's completely free. Link down below. You'll just pop in your email and it'll send it right to you. So the other step in this is to really start taking a look at the way you talk to yourself. right? So we've taken a look at what it is that we actually want. Then we're going to step and say, okay, what does this ideal version of myself look like? And how do I currently talk to myself? Am I being really harsh on myself? Do I keep saying I'm not creative? I don't know how to do anything. I'm not I'm not loved. I'm not worthy. I look like crap today. I hate the way my hair looks. I eat too much. I'm too overweight. How are you talking to yourself? I'm never going to have anything. Everything bad always goes, everything always goes wrong for me, etc. And part of why we look at this is because we want to pay attention to our inner conversations. You may have heard about inner conversations and mental diet. I'm going to do another video in the coming days on what a mental diet is. But in a nutshell, a mental diet is truly paying attention to the way that you're talking about yourself. What feelings are you dwelling in? How are you acting in your own mind? I have an internal monologue that runs in my mind all the time. I know some people don't, but I have an internal monologue, and I will often have to catch myself mentally arguing with people. And I'm kind of like, why do I want to mentally argue with this person? But for some reason I do. So that's what I do. And so I go through that process of like, okay, why am I mentally arguing with them? What kind of conversation would I prefer to have? And I can tell you that as I shift this, my perspective of the world and the people around me starts to change. So, this is another way to start expanding the person that you're going to be. How are you talking to yourself? How are you looking at the opportunities that you get? And again, this is just awareness. You're opening up your mind to the possibility of being able to change and having something better for yourself than what you currently have now. Being able to expand into this person that you want to be and start living the life that you truly want. And what this is going to come down to is your habits and your routines. All of the things that we just talked about all go back to habits and routines. If your morning habit is that you roll out of bed, throw on clothes that are actually in the dirty clothes, and you're unsure if the sniff test actually passed or not, and run out the door, that habit and routine is not really the person who's going to get a promotion, right? Like that's not aligned to that type of person that you want to be. So, how can you shift these habits and these routines? So, I'm going to put up here really quick a habit loop. So, a habit loop starts with your cue. Right. And the cue can be a place, it can be a time, it can be a smell, it can be a person, it can be an activity that you're doing. So, let's say you walk out and get in your car, that could trigger it. Going to make your coffee could trigger it. Any kind of cue trigger that says, hey, we're going to do this thing. And then the next part is the routine. So you step then into the routine, and that's doing the activity. And this can be physical or mental. So it could be an emotional routine that you go into, or it can be a physical one. So I go and I get in the car, and then I start my mental arguments with somebody. Okay, well, that's not great, right? But I realize that that is something I'm doing. Getting into the car is creating that. Making my coffee maybe will trigger another routine. And then the last one is you get a reward. And so what happens with the reward is either a serotonin, dopamine, you get something for yourself, or you can also set up your own rewards when you're setting up this process. You can say to yourself, man, this feels really good because I'm doing something for myself. So, understanding how this habit loop works is the first step to really making any kind of changes. We as humans are created to follow habits, right? And I think they did a study that said about 40% of our day is completely unconscious habits that we don't even realize we're doing. If you start paying attention, you'll start to see that you do the same thing over and over and over and over. You have the same thoughts when you have a certain smell. You may walk into your office and have the exact same routine to get to your desk. You drive to work in the exact same way. You make your coffee the same way. You make your breakfast the same way. You do your bedtime the same way. You go through the process in your shower the same way, right? Like we kind of all start with maybe like washing our hair, wash your face, wash your body, rinse your hair, put in conditioner. Like there's a process that we follow because it's a routine that we've created. And you're able to break these up. You don't have to continue them. First, you got to become aware of them, which is what we're talking about now. And then you can start to say, I'm going to become a better version of myself. I outlined what this person in me looks like. What am I doing that's in opposition of that? So, an example would be that when you make your morning cup of coffee, that you mentally argue with your loved one, right? With your spouse, your significant other, your partner. and you're like, man, I really need to break that habit. So there's a couple things that you can do to start. So the cue is going to be there, right? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not giving up my coffee. So if I'm going to go make the coffee, I know that cue is going to be there every day. How can I break that up and add something new to my routine? I love sticky notes for this. So I'll put a sticky note on my coffee maker that reminds me. And sometimes I'll ask you to say, reminder, do something else. Or I'll put the new routine. And then you're going to break the habit, or actually, really just rewire the habit to say, okay, when I start making my coffee, instead, I'm going to tell myself 10 positive affirmations about myself. And then I'm going to go and load the dishwasher. So now you also have the reward of one, you're doing something for yourself. Two, it feels good to speak kindly to yourself. And three, you're getting a bit more of a clean kitchen because you unloaded your dishwasher. And you can do these with all things, right? So let's say on your drive into work, you keep mentally arguing with your boss. All right. So you know this is coming. You've caught this habit that you're in, this habit loop, that each time you get into the car, you start this argument with your boss. So how can you do this? Can this a sticky note? What is it that you can say, okay, I'm going to break this and I'm going to do a new routine. So maybe it's I'm going to listen to an audiobook. I'm going to sing an upbeat song. I'm going to positive affirmations again. I'm going to count how many blue cars I see. Whatever you can do to start breaking up that habit in that routine so that you can rewire your brain to start looking for something else. We are all designed, do not feel bad about this because we are all designed for negativity bias. It's part of survival. It's just the way that we are. So when people say, oh, humans are more apt to think negatively, it's true. Because if we, back in the day, before we, had kind of the modern conveniences that we do now, if we were just kumbaya all over the place, we would not have survived. We wouldn't be here because our species would not have made it. So a survival instinct includes a negativity bias. We need to remember the negative things more to survive than we need to recall the positive. But you can override that. You can continue to work on it. And while some people are going to be better at it than others, everyone is capable of doing it. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to keep breaking this up every single day. And the more that you do this, the more you'll start to see parts of your life shift. This is the way that you start to become the best version of yourself. You're asking yourself constantly, is this habit aligned to that ideal version of myself that I listed in my guide? Is this thing that I'm doing, this routine, is it in opposition of the person that I want to be, or is it in complete alignment with the person that I want to be? And the more that you can ask yourself this, the better off you'll be. And it's not an obsessive, right? If that becomes an issue for you, you can definitely reach out. We can talk about that because it's not about becoming obsessive. It's about falling in love with the process. How can I become better? How can I start to show up more for myself? And a couple other ways that we're going to talk about as well is looking each night back on your day. I call it the 3 R's. So my 3 R's are to refresh, renew, reflect. Refresh is to clean something. Wash your face, take a shower, take a bath, do something, clean yourself. The renew is a renewal of the mind. So while you're in the bubble bath, maybe you just pay attention, get very present with how your body feels in that moment. What does the water feel like? How does your back feel? Get very, very present. You can do a meditation. Reading is a great way to refresh the mind, work on a new hobby, take a walk outside. There's lots of things that you can do to work on this part, but you definitely want to renew. It's a renewal of the mind. And then reflect is to look back on your day. Okay, in what ways did I align with this ideal version of myself? In what ways didn't I? Self compassion, right? Yeah, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to learn. But every day, because you're starting instead to focus on the journey and you're starting to become this person that you want to be, you're expanding into being your ideal self over and over each day. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what is some way that I can become 1% better over today? So let's say that you want love in your life and you messaged your ex something not very nice. Okay, maybe the 1% better tomorrow is just not messaging your ex. Or if it's that you're searching their Instagram every morning and at 8 a.m., maybe that 1% better is that you're not doing it until 9 a.m. and then 10 a.m. and then 11 a.m. When you want to make sustainable change to your life, it is actually best to start small. And I know that these winter arcs and becoming this beautiful version of yourself, a lot of times, like 75 Hard is a good example, people step into this all or nothing. And then when something doesn't work out, you're like, oh, I have to start all over. Like I didn't do it. And it becomes a very vicious cycle. And I know because I went through it where I was like constantly trying to reinvent myself because there was things that I wanted to change. But because I would quote unquote fail on one thing, I didn't realize that really the best way to do it is to just have incremental change each day. Start getting better each and every day. How can I be better today than I was yesterday? And that's really all it comes down to. And then in the morning, you review your reflect. That can be part of your new morning routine. Okay, how can I review the reflection that I did? How am I going to be 1% better today? Maybe the 1% better is that you're just not going to get on your phone for an hour, right? You're going to give yourself some grace in that and not get right on your phone. You're going to take a 10-minute walk outside. You're going to get some sunshine, whatever it is, but start to really think about the ways that you can align more with the person that you want to be. And this may be different. I don't know. I haven't watched any of the videos, but this may be different than what you're hearing in some other videos because I want this to be sustainable. I want it to be sustainable. I want it to be practical and I want it to actually fit in your life. I want you to feel like, man, this is stuff that I can really do. This is stuff that I could really see happening in my own life. So if you have any questions, please leave it down below. If you like this content, make sure that you like. I think on this side, we'll find out when I publish it. Maybe I'll be pointing at something, who knows what, or maybe over here. And subscribe. And definitely so that way you don't miss out. We're going to be doing much more content that's on personal development, aligning to your goals, becoming the person that you want to be, how to use your habits to actually step into a life that you enjoy, emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, lots of mindset work, right? Lots of becoming the person that has a mind that they actually enjoy living with. So I wish you nothing but the best, and I will be back.